Hello there, dear loving souls. Welcome back to this channel and welcome to this office where we discuss universal laws and practicing love. I'm very grateful that you have chosen to join me here today to discuss the topic of the new era, the new cycle that we are obviously have just entered into in our lives. Because clearly there's been a lot of change, a lot of things have happened over the last 3 to 5 years in particular, and every single person is feeling it, in my point of view. Every single individual knows something's up, something has definitely shifted, something has moved, something is going on. And with that, it's a topic that I was drawn to talk about today after asking for the last couple of days for a sign or some physical evidence from the spirit world as to what is it that I should be discussing here today. And the message was very clear from what I have received, which is this whole point or the subject matter of today's video on the fact that times are changing. It feels like we're not living in the 90s or the early 2000s anymore. It feels like that's part of an old book or an old chapter, and we're kind of part of the new chapter or the new book perhaps, or the new era. And with that comes a lot of uncertainty, understandably a lot of uncertainty, which can cause a lot of feelings of anxiety and distress, worries. Because of uncertainty, people might not be able to plan how they go about doing whatever they're doing, managing their affairs, whether or not they want to be traveling or immigrating perhaps. A lot of uncertainty is a result of it. But the reason I'm drawn to speak about this topic is not to talk about doom and the gloom. And despite a variety of things and events and circumstances that have even occurred in my personal life, I see the changes that are occurring and the new beginnings as a positive. And I'm drawn to speak about it today because I think of this perspective that I have as in where we're heading to, the new chapter, the new book that we've just started as a humanity, is actually the paradise that I think a lot of people have been wishing for a very long time. Now, that's not to say that's going to happen overnight, and it will take some time. And a lot of I feel like what we're going through as a humanity is like birthing pains. You know, when a woman is about to give birth, right at that stage, there's a lot of pain on the physical level. Obviously, it's a very challenging time mentally for a woman as well as emotionally. And I think this is what every individual is kind of meant to feel, or the challenges that they ought to overcome on a variety of levels, and they're being physical, mental, emotional, as well as spiritual, because I believe those four make up us. You know, that's what makes us unique, right? We have the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual sides to us. So look, the whole point of today's video series is to discuss some practical tips as to how can we stay positive. Or part of me is trying to share some of the things that perhaps I think, speak and do in order to still find myself in a positive frame of mind, notwithstanding all the aspects and events that occur in our life during these challenging times. It's still important to maintain your own peace, your own harmony, your own state of well-being. And part of my process, and I've talked about this many times on this channel, it's actually exercising your free choice to practice love. I need to think love, speak love, and do love, and use that opportunity any time of the day to do that every single time. And that's what's been carrying me forward. That's been my sort of life jacket, if you will, that has helped me in every single situation. And I'm willing to share that with you today with the hope that it could inspire you to practice the same on a daily basis, and as a result it might help you with whatever challenge or obstacle it is that you are trying to overcome during these difficult or challenging times. Now grab a cup of tea or coffee. I've got a cup of coffee here with me, or a glass of water, because I'm going to get straight into the universal laws, which is all about part 1. Part 2 will be all about the application of universal laws and some practical tips as to practicing love. And part 3, as always, will be receiving some gorgeous messages from the spirit world, our angels, ancestors, God and Asna, and everybody else who's willing to preside here today. I've just noticed I forgot to light my candle, so I'm just going to do that straight away. Alrighty, team, I'm back. I've lit my candle here. Apologies for that. So the universal laws for today's topic on the new era, the new cycle that we have entered, it's all about the first being a cycle or a pattern. So I'm a big believer that something I've observed in my life, that things happen in patterns or in cycles, and I feel like what we are witnessing in this lifetime is a change of a cycle, but on a very grand scale. There are some people out there who believe this is once in a 6,000 year phenomenon. Some are talking about 26,000 years phenomenon. I'm not going to put a number on it, okay? I don't have any intuitive kind of feeling as to one or another, but I am a big believer that it is a shift. It's a cycle that does occur, but on a grand scale, i.e. lifetimes and lifetimes away, and we're all witnessing it in this lifetime, and that's exciting. And as for me, I think that's exciting, and I look forward to it, because I think it's actually a blessing to be able to witness and experience entering into a new book as a whole humanity with this beautiful planet Earth, our Gaia. And the second thing I want to jump into straight away in terms of the universal law is the fact that we all get freedom of choice whilst we're here on planet Earth. You get to decide what you want to do, what you don't want to do, how you're going to think, what you're not going to think. But more importantly, when we're in spirit form, we have the freedom of choice to incarnate or not to incarnate. And as part of that incarnation process, before we are born, we do come up with a bit of a plan for our lifetimes. I think it's a dynamic plan. My intuition is telling me it's a dynamic plan. There's multiple ways things could go, but there are key milestones or challenges that each one of us, each spirit, wishes to overcome or to complete or to go through, to experience. And I do sincerely believe that all the beautiful loving souls that are in this lifetime going through these times together on planet Earth have actually put it down into their plan, their previous plan, that they want to be incarnated on planet Earth to experience these changes that are occurring, going from, as a metaphor, from one book to another book, and not just another chapter, literally another book. And so that's the freedom of choice part. And the third universal law that I really wanted to talk about today was the ripple effect. Or the ripple effect is in water. When you throw in a stone into the water, and then you get the waves, and they spread quite swiftly and affect quite a large area. And there's two ways of looking at every single thing, positive and negative. It depends on your perspective, quite frankly. Nothing is truly good or bad, it just depends on your perspective. But the ripple effect part of it is the ability to either instill fear or instill anxiety and stress, be in the negative mood and low frequency emotions when times are tough, or when you address a challenge or an obstacle, versus a ripple effect when you're trying to look at things from a positive, the glass half full kind of perspective, and you realize that you're actually quite powerful and that you're able to overcome any particular obstacle. You see that obstacle as an opportunity, and there are various tools that might help you to find that resilience that you need in order to really understand that the obstacle or the challenge that you're facing, yes, it might be physically painful or mentally challenging. Emotionally, you might be suffering, or spiritually, it's really challenging your belief systems, your faith. all these things are true, but there is a foundational belief that you just know is true in your heart, that actually this is all for a very good reason. I just have to find it. And you take the time to do some soul searching, some deep thinking to actually understand what is it that is actually making you go through this obstacle. What's the best next thing you can do in order to overcome it, to master that challenge? And tapping into perhaps the second universal law we discussed, which is all about your pre-birth plan, knowing that actually this is all part of a grander plan, that there is a positive at the end of the journey, light at the end of the tunnel. There's a reason why you have chosen to incarnate during this lifetime to go through the events that are unfolding in your life, and tap into the new era. Enjoy, perhaps, be a pioneer of the new era that we are going to be effectively pioneering or kicking off or starting. So that's the 3 universal laws I wanted to discuss today. And the first one all about cycles, passions, eras. The second one, freedom of choice and pre-birth planning. And third one was the ripple effect. That's that which is connected to the other two, quite frankly. How are you going to address the circumstances you find yourself in? Will you be that one individual that will kind of be in the negative space, or will you be the one individual in the positive space, and creating the ripples across the communities that you work with, that you live with, that you engage with, that you deal with people, with objects, with animals, with plants, with Gaia, with planet Earth. So, and the choice is yours. There is no judgment, there is no good or bad. It's up to you as to how you tackle your life, how you live your life, how you think, speak, or do your own life, and the people around you. So with that in mind, let's just jump straight into part 2, the practical tips as to the subject matter. Click on the link down below, and I will see you shortly in part 2.